Good morning. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. How you doing today? Yeah. Another day in the life. Yes, another day to get up, get out, do something, make a difference. Coffee Conversations is a place where we have casual but compelling conversations, culturally relevant from a global perspective. Glad for you to join us. We're on all sorts of Facebook pages. Just Google us, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Beach City Radio, Beach City Perspective, Columbus Song Coffee, just a lot of different places. We also repurpose the audio, put it out there as a podcast for you, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're also on YouTube and LinkedIn. Help us get our YouTube game up. Like and subscribe that playlist so you can be tuned in, and soon and very soon you're going to be seeing episodes pop up on the world famous EUR web. That's what we're working on right now. Before we get into today's great discussion, I want to tell you about the NFT exhibit that's going on this Saturday in the beautiful city of Long Beach, LBC. You know that brand new park downtown that's called Lincoln Park, got a big penny sculpture right there on the street. They say the indigenous groups, the Native Americans, don't like the penny being there, but it's a beautiful park nonetheless, right there by the Billie Jean King Library. Rhonda Love's out there with her NFT exhibits and discussions about NFTs and that whole world. Volatile world. So we need some information. And I think she's the right person to share with us, where we're going with this thing. It is a new art form. Can't get away from it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't going nowhere. Yeah, that's what I see. But you need the information. And I think Rhonda Love has it. That's going on 3 p.m. Lincoln Park, Saturday, September 17th, downtown Long Beach. Make it a date. Go down there, get some info. So listen, we've been having this conversation, right, around the creative economy from a Black perspective, because that's what we're about. We've been talking about the, classical music, Blacks in classical music. We've been talking about, Blacks in the theater. We've even linked up with the theater groups across the globe just to find out how we are promoting our art, promoting our craft. What is the content like? We've been struggling a little bit with a couple of things here. Just wanted to have discussions with our friends across the diaspora who excel in this space of Black performing arts, And our last episode, our last contemplations, I started thinking, man, who can I talk to about this subject? And, none other than the Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center. I was like, man, that, it's just a divine epiphany that our guest came to give her a shout, say, hey, come on here. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have conversation. Let's talk about arts and culture from a diasporic perspective, from a Black perspective, right? Come to find out, she's executive producing a fantastic musical coming up. It's called Veils. It's happening, I think it's opening Thursday the 15th, I believe. And she's going to tell us all about that. So let's, without further ado, welcome the honorable, the highly esteemed, the legendary Sandra Evers Manly is here with us. Yes. So, well,
Thank
technology, my
you.
mouse is there, but there you are. Well, good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. And thanks for all that you do in keeping our stories and our voices alive. We really appreciate your great work. You've been on this battlefield for a long time, and we can't thank you enough for continuing to uplift our people, our stories, and our art and culture.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just a divine mission out here trying to make it happen. Following in your footsteps.
Oh, absolutely. You're
Thank you for
leading.
everything that you've done to keep us. educated and informed and striving in these sometimes that entertainment business can be kind of crazy, and we often get into it without the proper information and all that, and you've been on the forefront of making sure that our people are informed in terms of making films, in terms of producing plays and theatrics, and just the whole shebang. Legendary work. What
Well,
started
thank you.
you in how did you found the Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center? What is that and how did you found it?
Well, I mean, it's a really interesting story. When I was a young girl in Northern California, in a little city called Pittsburgh, California, my family migrated from Mississippi. I'm from a civil rights family, and I would always complain. I would always ask my mother, why wasn't it people who looked like me on TV? Why didn't I see stories that related to me? And she said, change it. She didn't allow us to complain. She basically said, change it. And so I came here to Southern California more than 40 years ago to go to college and got active and became an activist in the film and television industry because I wanted to see more stories and more people that looked like me. I wanted to see more of our stories shown and more of our people in front of and behind the camera.
Mhm. Lots of strides have been made in that space. I mean, I can just in my time in the industry, I know we're starting to see more and more Black folk in front of the camera, behind the camera, in executive positions and everything like that. What is your favorite story in your advocacy? What stands out for you where, that was a victory?
I think anytime we are starting to see more of our stories, such as right now, The Woman Kings coming out, that's
Mhm.
directed by a Black woman, that's executive produced by a Black couple, Viola Davis and her husband, that has a Black man doing the composing, and you have a Black female editor. Those are successes to me.
Mhm.
I still think we've got a long way to go, but I think when we see stories like that, when we see individuals like the Ava DuVernays, when we see Lena Waithe and those individuals, and what happened last night, with Shirley
Mhm.
Ralph,
Mhm.
with the Emmy, and the executive producer and writer of Abbott Elementary, those are successes, and those stories can't be denied. That we've got great stories, we've got great storytellers and technicians who can do the job and not do it, but they do it with great excellence.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, congratulations to our friend Cheryl Lee Ralph. I'm trying to get her on Coffee Conversations here. I got a fanboy story for her if she would remember it, and I'll share it right now. I remember she came to the radio station and did her thing, and then wanted me to take her to the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. So I took her down to the mall and listen, she grabbed my arm and we walked around there, and I was just so proud to escort her all around the Baldwin Hills Mall. And people were like, "Is that your woman?" Like, no, but she was just very, very nice and was
Mhm.
just regular folks and walked around the mall there. And I'll never forget that experience there. That's when she was promoting the Divas Simply Singing is her production that she
Absolutely.
does.
One of the things, here's someone that has always given back to our community, someone who's always been accessible, someone who's used her voice and her advocacy. And, that speech last night, that, I think I
Mhm.
cried rivers.
Mhm.
And just to know that here's someone that's been out there and she is finally getting her due. And so it's just great
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
see.
All right, so let's talk about Veils for a moment. So you're opening on Thursday. You're executive producing a musical called Veils. What's that story about?
So Veils is written and directed by two young men out of Howard University. For the
Mhm.
last 15 years, I've lived in Washington, D.C. After the company I worked for moved its corporate office. And I met these two just amazing, amazing individuals. Stephen A. Butler, who wrote Veils, and Courtney Baker Oliver, who's the director. And it
Mhm.
is really highlighting the sacrifice of women during the civil rights movement, mostly Black women who paid the ultimate price and losing either a husband, a son, or a daughter. And they all had something in common. They all had to wear a veil. And so it amplifies not only the struggle of what our people have gone through and others, but it highlights the power and strength and fortitude of these women. And then here we are for, today. Unfortunately, we're seeing some of the same things happen where we've now got Black women who've had sons just walking across the street, wearing a hoodie, being Black, that they're now being faced with having to wear a veil. And so this is a musical told through song, told through word, and it's just a powerful, powerful play and musical. And we're so proud to be able to bring it back. We initially brought this play during right when the pandemic hit, and we did not get to do the run that we had scheduled. And so I had committed to those amazing individuals, Stephen and Courtney, that we would bring this play back to Los Angeles. When I saw it in Washington, D.C., I was just blown away of how they highlighted the strength, the power, the struggle of Black women during the civil rights movement, Black families, and then connected it to today of what unfortunately we're seeing in some of our streets.
Wow, that sounds very, very powerful. And, the image of the mother in our community is just really exceptional, especially in those types of situations. I mean, I shout out to LaWanda Hawkins and Justice for Murdered Children. That's a group of mothers out here that
My heart,
every
my heart.
time I link up with them, well, that's another level right there.
It's that strength, it's that power. And, I love Lawana. I've known her for many years and she's never stopped. And that is what this play is about, that these women, they did not stop after losing that significant other, that husband, that child, that they came right in and began to fight for our people. And so it highlights some others in the film play as well, but it gives a great education. I think that's one of the reasons why it resonates with me, is that there's just a great education. And when you have people trying to suppress our history, trying to stop Black history from being told in schools, this is a great educational piece. And that's why on Friday of this week, we are hosting over 400 middle school and high school students. We want them to get that education and see firsthand. And that's what's so great about the power of art and culture, that we're able to do it in a way that young people will be able to take it in right away.
So you have 400 students from middle school and high school coming to see the production. And all right, let me ask you this question. This is good. Okay, so it's because you feel, so your ultimate goal is that the young people will, take in the history, because this is historic, right?
Absolutely.
And where's the inspiration in the story? Will the kids walk away feeling inspired, informed, or sad and depressed?
I think the students will walk away feeling informed. I
Mhm,
think the students will walk away uh, getting to know individuals and history that they
mhm,
may not know, because sometimes, I can remember I have a niece who came to Howard University and she lived with me. And
mhm,
she grew up in a town called Merced, California, in Central California. And she got introduced to so much being around Black history, being around the great art and culture. So I think young people will walk into this film, they will be educated. I think there's going to be those moments that they're going to see that heartache, but at the
mhm,
same time, they're going to see what strength and fortitude is all about.
mhm,
And, the one thing that I will say to you, again, next year will be the 60th anniversary when my cousin Medgar Evers was assassinated.
mhm,
And so some young people have no idea who Medgar Evers is or was. They have no idea the sacrifice and why he lost his life and was willing to give his life. And when anybody talks to me about critical race theory or anything like that, I don't want my history, that my cousin's Medgar's life, be in vain. That someone's trying to wash it away as if it didn't happen in this country.
That's really, really something. You're so funny. I was exchanging emails early this morning with a black newspaper in London, and we try to get them on to. We want to contrast the reign of the Queen with, the Black movement, in Britain, and we were talking about just that, is that we don't want history to be erased, or people to act like it never ever happened, and yeah, that's absolutely right. I was going to ask you earlier, what is your relationship to Medgar Evers, and thank you for sharing that with our audience. That's why you're the right woman for the job here. That's what you're doing.
Well,
Let me ask you a question. I want Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, my mom, who, there's a number of African Americans migrated from Mississippi here to
Mhm.
California. My family happened to migrate to Northern California due to World War II. The town I grew up in, Pittsburgh, California, at the time, was a army base.
Mhm.
But my mom was so active. She and her cousin Megger were so close, and that civil rights never left. And sometimes Megger's wife, Merle Evers, she says, Sandra, you got it. You're the one. And I go, I don't want to be the one. I just want to, but we've all got a responsibility to make sure that when we see our people, that our history, our stories, our struggles would never be denied.
Mhm. It's really interesting around here at Beach City Radio, Dream Creator Studio. Our mantra is that we must tell our own stories. And I know that you've been an advocate for that for a long time. And we've been wrestling with the notion, okay? And I want to kind of go into it with you a little bit. Um, Right. So we have been going to a local performing arts organization. They have a program that's similar to yours, where they're bringing, you know, students from underserved communities to the theater for the first time. And what we've noticed is that the presentations that come across the stage seem to embrace, the pornography of Black pain, is what we call it.
Mm,
And in a sense where, personally for me, and this is just my own opinion, is that I walk away from the productions really sad and oftentimes angry, because I don't see the need for the promotion of such stereotypes.
mm.
Now, having said that, I see that a lot of these plays are written by Black people. I see that they are perspectives coming from the imagination or adapted from real life history from Black people. I- Why do we embrace the, Black pain, and why is that such an attraction for theater goers?
I don't know if that could be limited in certain areas, because I go to many theater productions here,
Mhm,
and I'm just so happy, this week in Los Angeles, but all over the country, I see, and I want to see the diversity and range of
mhm,
our storytellers.
mhm,
One of the things within, and we call Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center, BHERC,
mhm,
and one of the things for a long time, we have a large film festival that we just completed called the African American Film Marketplace S.C. Manly Short Film Showcase. And we just had over 111 films, and we currently have them online at BHERC TV. And for many years, we had a lot of filmmakers focused on the white cop killing the Black kid.
mhm,
And I think so many people were exposed to that, right? That's what we saw day in, day out on the local news, or what we saw in our communities. And so many of our filmmakers felt that's the story that I want to tell.
mhm,
And I can remember last year, a young filmmaker, he's probably one of the most incredible young talents that I've met. His name is Alcee Walker, and he has no problem in me telling his story. And we met in my home, and he says, Sandra, I want to do this film, and it's about a police officer killing a Black kid. And I said, you know what, Alcee? We've seen that story. We all know how that story ends. I
mhm,
said we need to stretch and do something beyond those types of stories. And I think we have to challenge people.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, we premiered Alcie's film 3 weeks ago at our film festival, and he did a film on how the pandemic impacted 5 families and
Mhm.
what's that doing to young children and what it has done to mental health, around mental health, what it's doing around education in itself. And it's a powerful film. So I do think we have to challenge people to expand storytelling. Oftentimes in Hollywood, and that's why we do the work that we do, is that Hollywood is so fixated on the negativity and doing stories that often just showed us in a light that we didn't always want to see. It was overload. And
Mhm.
so we do have to be in the game. We do have to get people to do more than tell stories like that. And that's why you have to have these discussions.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, let me ask you this question because as I turn over this notion, does it make a difference if the production is coming from? Okay, so if Sandra Evers Manly is producing or showing a theatrical production that is in apartheid or in the 20s, and shows the black male and woman as these stereotypical images that we don't like, but if you're presenting it, am I receiving that information differently than if the white Sandra Evers Manly production presents it? You know what I mean? Is it coming from through your voice? Is it different than if it came from a non-African American's voice?
That it's interesting you say that, because Greg, I will be honest with you. Today, I woke up with a heavy heart.
Mm,
I woke up yesterday just so saddened that a young man lost his life, at a restaurant that we all love and care.
mhm,
He was there
mhm,
eating, and today his family is having to mourn his life. And
mhm,
so, my question that we have to ask ourselves: where is the outrage? Where is that outrage that we see this happening day in and day out in some of our communities? And so, we have an obligation to be just as responsible as someone that does not look like us.
mhm,
So I don't want to draw in to say that, oh, because this story is being told by somebody that doesn't look like me versus someone that does. I
mhm,
think we all have a responsibility,
mhm,
to our people, to our stories. And I will just tell you, there are going to be stories that are painful. There's stories that we should not forget. But when it's so excessive, I think that's what we've got to think about: how excessive. And if you're starting to see the same thing every day, and we're not challenging that, then
mhm.
we're not being responsible,
Yeah.
to storytelling and to our people.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, tragic happening over there on Main in Manchester at the Roscoe's there. We was listening to Stevie Wonder talk about it, and he was asking, okay, so people, because everybody in the community is saying, hey, I should have known better than to go into that area, but why can't we just be? Why do we have to even have that consideration? We've got to do better as a people. If we know that we come from kings and queens and all of this stuff that we're saying, then why don't we act like kings and queens and on our own? And why are we participating in such violent behavior all the time? Can't even be safe in our own community.
I think it should not be that he shouldn't have been there. We
Mhm,
should be able to walk and feel free.
mhm.
And when we're among our people, we should be even more free.
Yes.
So I think that it's unacceptable to say he shouldn't have been there. I think
Mhm,
the question is, what are we going to do? And where are the marches? Where is all of the same outcry that we have when we see it happening by other people to our people?
mhm, mhm,
And so I don't want to get off. It's just like in art, when we now provide funding, and we have funded a number of films. Our films are shorts, so the
mhm,
films under an hour. And so we have a film program called Films with a Purpose. And
mhm,
we invested quite a bit of money. And
mhm,
we want those films to be more than just films dealing with tragedy, but films that uplift, films that educate, films that celebrate, but there may be times there are films that might get you mad but bring about action. So, for example, one film, our first film we funded, dealt with foster care and
Mhm.
aging out of foster care. In some states, it's 21, in some states, it's 18. And
Mhm.
where do those young people go? This year, we had a number of filmmakers who focused on mental health and well being, and that's a huge issue. So we need to use art more than just entertain, but also educate.
Mhm, mhm. You know, it's interesting because when I go to the theater, I want to be inspired, you know, and not reminded of the oppression or not reminded of. I don't want to, you know, see the image of a lazy, no good black male on the stage. I just don't want that image, you know, in my psyche. And then when I look around the theater, you know, most of the folks don't look like me, but they're doing standing ovations and everything like that. And I feel like that's just celebrating, you know, white supremacy values is that's how I feel about it, you
Yeah,
know.
and I think we can't box all our storytellers in.
Mhm.
Some of these stories, they deserve to be told because some people don't want to, when there's, people talked about, 12 years a slave and different
Mhm.
things like that. Some people would like to say slavery didn't happen.
Mhm.
Some people don't want to see how our people was treated and how we're thriving, we're surviving, but also we paid an ultimate price in so many ways.
Mhm.
That's why I think, this weekend, um, The Woman King comes out.
Mhm.
It comes out on September 16th. And one of the things we have is our first weekend club where we encourage people to go out the first weekend or soon thereafter to support films
Mhm.
that feature African Americans or Black people both in front of and behind the camera. This film, again, Black female and her husband executive producing. Gina Prince Bythewood, was one of our most gifted directors, Black or white, any color. She
Mhm.
did Old Guard, Love and Basketball. She was the first filmmaker when we started this program. She was a student at UCLA that we gave her money to complete her thesis project. She is now at the helm. You've got a Terrence Blanchard. You've got a Black female composer. 90% of the cast is Black. It was filmed in South Africa. There's so much to this film, and it's based on historical events. We've got to be at the box office to support films like this if we want to see other stories.
Mhm.
When we allow these films not to have a successful box office and people going to the movies, Hollywood, unfortunately, that's how they'll decide, will we see other stories about our people, about our history, and more.
You know, it's interesting you say because I remember the first weekend club. That's right. I was doing a lot of screenings alongside y'all. That's what
Yes,
yes,
yes.
yeah. We packed those theaters out, you know. And there was a metric that came across our audience measurements that showed that and it was just, you know, the survey was just for Los Angeles, but it was showing that African Americans were the most likely to attend a film in the first weekend than any other, you know, demographic group, you know, certainly in LA. And that says a lot, you know. And this is why I think you see a lot of movement now where they're really, you know, they're promoting the bejeebers out of The Woman King. They're promoting out of the upcoming sequel to Black Panther and everything. You know, it's really, really something to see. And we're able to make a difference at the box office. And that's how we're able to grow, how we're able to
And
grow.
guess
How,
what? Guess what, Greg?
hmm,
That we go to the theaters, we pay. We go see everybody else's movies, and that's why we've got to see ours.
mhm,
When you talk about, Gina, when you talk about Ryan with Panther, that'll be coming
mhm,
out. We've got to be there
mhm,
for this business is so hard. And
mhm,
for us to have the talents like Gina Prince Bythewood, the talents like Ryan Coogler, and them to be able to say, we're pushing for our stories. And what I will say when we think about Gina Prince Bythewood, this is a young woman. Many of our talents, when they get in Hollywood, we can't access them. We've
mhm,
got to go through their white agent or publicist. This is a young woman, 6 months during the pandemic, when we were feeding the homeless, when we were doing check ins to our seniors. Gina and her entire family, her husband, Reggie Rock Bythewood, who does Swagger. They came out. They were with us in South LA. They were with us carrying food down to the homeless, to women's shelters. And so I will just say to everyone, we are supporting this Black female director and this cast, Viola Davis. These individuals are givers to our community and they care about our stories.
All right, I'm gonna get on here while we're on here. I'm gonna get my tickets for opening day. All
All
right,
right, good.
while we're on here.
Nationwide. And,
Yes.
we're asking people to buy out theaters. We're
Mhm.
asking age appropriate, take young people, you know, teachers, their classes, have discussions about these films. One of the other things, we got a young woman, Terry Lynn Shropshire. She
Mhm.
is the editor. You can count the number of Black female editors in Hollywood, and this young
Mhm.
woman is exceptional. And
Mhm.
so there's so much to this film, and I am just looking forward to our community sending a message that these stories matter. And then to film it in South Africa, it's
Mhm.
unbelievable.
This is really, really something. I'm looking forward to it. Let me ask you, switching back to the theater, who is the hot African American playwright right now?
Oh my God. Here's one of the problems we got. So I'm going to tell you, these two young men, Stephen A. Butler Jr.,
Mhm.
Courtney Vance, they're out of Washington, D.C. And that's one of the things, we're starting to see incredible Black playwrights get their due. We saw that at the Tony Awards, but in our local communities, and that's one of the reasons why community theater is so important. We've got a number of young people. These young men, when I was in DC, I actually got introduced to them. A friend of mine said, Sandra, you should go see this play called Chocolate Covered Ants.
Mhm.
And I was like, a film called Chocolate Covered Ants. I went to see this play, Greg, and it's a story about Black men in America and how sometimes they feel like ants.
Mhm.
And it is so powerful. They then did another play called The Colored Museum.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Okay.
but their film, it's a little different. I mean, not the Colored Museum, the Colored Circus. And
Mm.
these individuals, they should be front and center in Broadway. And so we're trying to help bring more light and visibility to them in their crafts. So I will just say there's a number of individuals that are coming up in Black theater and theater in general. And we saw that at the Tony Awards these last
Mhm.
couple of years. But
Mhm.
I am a
Mhm.
big believer in local theater and doing our part. And that's why Vales, the music, they've written so much of the music. I will also say, I'm very proud to say, with this run, we have Ayanna Gregory, the daughter of Dick Gregory.
Oh, wow, yes.
He is in one of the lead roles with this performance. Our last actress, she's on Broadway. She'll be playing the mother in the Tina Turner story. But Ayanna has come in and she is incredible.
Our
Along with
sister can sing now.
she can sing. I will tell you, the whole cast
Yes.
can sing, and we're running September 15th through the 18th, a short
Mhm.
run. And we
Mhm.
got 5 performances, and I'm just so proud of what Stephen A. Butler and Courtney Baker Oliver has done with this work.
All right, looking forward to seeing it. Veils, that's what's going on right there. How difficult, Sandra, is it to start a local community theater of quality?
The work is hard. I'm not going to tell you, I've been doing this work now, believe it or not, for 40 years. When I first
Mhm.
came to go to school, and, my mother said, change it.
Mhm.
And that's what she meant. She didn't
Mhm.
mean complain. And so part of that changing, we've evolved. At first was picketing and meeting with studio executives and trying to get local theaters, get audiences to come out
Mhm.
to see this work. I would tell you it's been hard with Veils. Here we are, we're in a pandemic and, trying to do this in person. So over the years, it's hard work, but we believe in the mission. We believe that our stories deserve to be told. We believe our creative talent deserves to have platforms. So
Mhm.
it's hard, but I will tell you, don't stop. Doing the first weekend club, I started that in 1997.
Mm.
When I kept hearing people like, oh, well, Black films, people don't go out. And I said, you know what, we're going to show you we go out.
Mhm.
But it is something, work that you have to put in. And, again, I will always go back to my upbringing and coming from a civil rights family. We were told if you're in it, you got to be in it for the long haul and you
Mhm.
can't give up. And our people have so many incredible stories. We've got so much talent that we've got to be out there front and center. And local
Mhm.
theater is a great place to start.
Mhm. Now, what theater is Vale's going to be playing? Where is it?
I'll just say opening night, we're at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center,
Oh,
which is on
nice.
Washington Boulevard in Los Angeles. One of the things we try to do with our productions is keep it in the community. And
Mhm.
so we're very proud of the work that Ren T. Brown and Gail Hooks are doing over there with the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. So we will be there opening night Thursday, and we end on Sunday evening with an 8 p.m. performance. We flew this cast in, and so we know we're taking a risk, but I
Mhm.
truly believe this is a story. This is a play, a musical that I am so proud to be a part of.
Yeah, we need to see it. You need to see it, and those are the types of investments, I guess, that we must make, especially out on the West Coast. And a lot of times, you just hear these great productions only on the East Coast, and then we have to wait a year later before they come over here. Even the Broadway productions, they hit the Pantages until after the fact. After all the hoopla. So this is a good thing that you're doing. And then the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center is a beautiful venue. Mhm.
And it's in our community. And I will tell you, we've
Mhm.
got some incredible um, theater companies here. We've got the Roby Theater.
Mhm.
Ben Guillory, he has been on the battlefield and does incredible work. We got Town Street Theater. So
Mhm.
there are some really wonderful theater companies here. What I would encourage our community to do is we just got to go out and find those incredible gems that exist in our community, and
Mhm.
let's support them.
Mhm.
I'm also really proud to say a number of these uh, Roby, Town Street, a lot of them are, they offer classes and workshops for individuals who are interested in becoming a playwright and writing a play. We just completed our youth workshop. We do 5 film festivals a year. Next year will be the 30th anniversary of our sisters and doing it for themselves short film showcase. And it's a showcase where Black women directors are showcased. And I am so proud, that we've had individuals like Gina, Ava DuVernay, Gina Wade. We've had Casey Lemons and the support of Julie Dash and Nima Barnett, incredible Black women directors who have showcased at this festival. And
Mhm.
so we've got to make sure we're developing the talent as well.
Mhm. It's interesting. Ava DuVernay, I remember she was like a publicist. We used to call on her at the,
Yes, yes.
and when I worked at the radio station, and then we did a project when the Lion King was hot, and it came to the Pantages Theater in Hollywood, and we
Mm-hmm.
did a gospel version called "Spirit of the Lion King."
Spirit of the Lion King, absolutely. And what I will say this, just think of Gina Prince Bythewood.
Mhm.
She gave us love and basketball.
Yeah.
And then, here she is. She did Beyond the Lights, Secret
Mhm.
Lives of Bees, The
Mhm.
Old Guard. Look at The Old Guard, one of the top films on Netflix. And now here she is with The Woman King.
Wow.
And we need to, and when I say she nailed this movie, the power of it, the spirit of it, and bringing the talent together as well as the crew, it's unbelievable.
Mhm.
And we want to make sure it's a success at the box office.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. All right, now let me ask you somebody might be out there who says, "Hey, I want to be a part of the first weekend club." How do they do that?
Absolutely. We love to have you. You can go to bherc.org, or you can go to First Weekend Club at BHERC. You can call us. We go with all ages. 323-957-9656. We've got all kind of ways in which you can be involved. But go to First Weekend Club or bherc.org. BHERC TV. There's so many things, ways you can get involved. And what I am proud of, Greg, at the end of this month, I head to Montgomery, Alabama, to ASALA, the Association of African American History. They'll be having their 107th conference, and we're going to be sponsoring the film festival there. And just we take the first weekend clubs all around the world. You know, other other countries took our name. We've been battling with groups, but you know, this is about our stories. People can bring groups together. For example, UCLA this Saturday at the Baldwin Hills Theater at 6:30, they're bringing all their Black alumni together. They're buying out the theaters for the Woman King, and that's what we're asking people to do. Small groups, large groups. The other thing we encourage people to do, because one of the things we found when we started the first weekend club, people would buy tickets, and all of a sudden, when they got in the theater, it's like, oh, this doesn't say the Woman King. So we ask people to visit. Please make sure before you leave that box office that your ticket says the Woman King.
They do switcheroo on you.
We've seen it firsthand.
Yes.
So we encourage people, just make sure your ticket says the Woman King. So we're calling all warriors. Let's unite. Let's tell our stories, and then join us at Vales. Again, we've got 8 p.m. Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Friday. Then we've got a matinee, because we know some of our seniors. We got 150 seniors that'll be joining us. We want to make sure we get individuals who may want to come out in the daytime. So we've got a 2 p.m. performance on Saturday, and then another 8 p.m. performance Saturday evening. And then we close out Sunday evening.
How difficult is it to do a theater buyout? Would you help an organization facilitate that if they're getting a little bit of a hard time from the theater? I mean, although they might be like, hey, I'm going to take your money because we have been closed for a couple of years.
But I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with buying out a theater. You know, it's a matter of selecting a time that you want to go, selecting a theater. For now, you can go online. You know, they've made it very easy to buy a ticket at a theater. If you tell, for example, UCLA is saying we're going 6:30 Saturday evening. They've put it out there. So you just do a call, or you can give somebody the money, your groups, organizations. We're calling on churches, nonprofits, fraternals and sororities, you know, all over. I was on a call last night with Black Women Collectives. I was on the call later. We have a call tomorrow. If you go to bherc.org, we've got a countdown to the Woman King. If you want to be a part of that call at 6 p.m. tomorrow. But buying a ticket today, the studios are hurting. They are hurting big time. And so I don't think individuals will have a problem.
Has the pandemic changed the face of filmmaking? Is it easier now with technology and everything to make a quality film and then get it out into the public on a wide scale?
Well, I think even prior to the pandemic, you know, technology has changed where, you know, you can now shoot a film on a phone,
on your phone,
iPad. You know, that's what I'm so excited about. You know, accessibility was a big problem, that you now can do these films on a small camera, on an iPad, on a, you know, so there's all kind of ways you can shoot film. But the pandemic has changed. You know, one of the things when you come even to our play, we're going to ask people to wear their masks because we know how the pandemic has impacted our community. So as best we can, we're going to try to make sure we keep people safe and, you know, deliver our 2 projects in a safe manner. So that's going to be something. But, you know, we've still got a lot of work to do in Hollywood. You know, we may see the Woman King coming out. I will say the door has opened, but it's still not fully open. We still need to see more Black executives. You know, that's one of the issues that we face, is that when our filmmakers go into these studios and they pitch a story, you know, they get these looks like, you know, there's a story, for example, the 6888. It's about a group of Black women who served in World War II. They were brought over to sort out the mail because there was such low morale.
Mhm.
And Julie Dash, who first Black woman to release a feature film. She's been trying to get that story done for many, many years. And
Mhm.
people keep like, what? That didn't exist. And they didn't, it did exist, but unfortunately it was never told in our history books. The role that Black women, this Black women unit called the 6 888 played in World War II. So our
I think I
filmmaker,
saw the trailer for this here.
you saw this trailer. Well, it
I
hasn't come out. She's still struggling. She's been trying to do a series for more
mm,
than 15 years.
mhm, mhm. Wow, 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 wow.
It's
This
been a,
is yeah.
it's been a
So right. So these are these stories that we would whisper in our, you hear your grandma and aunties and uncles and everything talk about it in the, when we have our family gatherings. But now in this generation, we're able to bring it to the silver screen. We're able to bring it to the theater so that our real history is told. We're doing a better job. And like you say, we need a little bit more help here. Need a little bit more positions with executives at these studios and all of that, and the distribution too. We need to have the distribution together.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And one of the things we often hear, which some of our filmmakers are faced with, is people say, "Oh, they don't. These movies won't make it on a global scale."
Mhm.
That's BS.
Mhm. Mhm.
Our films are go worldwide, and it's important for us to make sure from a global standpoint that we are. That is why being at the movies and having being butts in the seats is so important, so people can see the numbers and the
Mhm.
support that we have. And I travel all over the world, and people are so excited when they see our people.
Mhm.
We set the standard, when it comes
Yes.
to culture and when it comes to music, and it should be the same for film and plays as well.
Mhm, mhm. When you travel across the world, I mean, we here, yes, we're based in Long Beach, California, but we are global. We pride ourselves on building bridges of music, arts, and culture with Africa and African America. And what's your thoughts about, the Nigerian film industry, African films? Is I get a smile on my face when I get with the fellas, and they're like, "Man, I'm watching this Nigerian film on Netflix or whatever." I really like that. What's your sense of the emergence of African film industry?
It's phenomenal.
Mm,
And I will tell you, think about Netflix. All of a sudden, they've got major divisions now focused on African films and films from the continent, especially Nigeria.
mhm,
I'm telling you, we had at our film festival this year a whole segment of films from Nigeria and other parts of the country. I'm going to be going next year to Ghana and to South Africa and to Nigeria, meeting with Black filmmakers. But I love it. They're great storytellers, unbelievable. And you just look at the expansion of, you just watch Netflix is opening offices and now have a focus. Our images, our stories are worldwide, and people are not going to miss out on our stories if they make money.
mhm,
And so those films from the motherland, they're exceptional.
mhm, mhm. What are some of the needs, as you see emerging, um, because I've done a few, exchanges with, filmmakers, theater, even broadcasters and whatnot. What are some of the needs that we can contribute as entertainment industry executives to our brothers and sisters in Africa? And what can they give us, as we create this exchange? Because now it's all about our global unity, and how can we elevate this aspect of the diaspora?
I think first of all, promotion and support. I would be remiss, the work that Babu and the Pan African Film Festival has done is exceptional. They have an
Mhm,
incredible, the biggest Black film festival, one of them in the world, if not the. And it's so important for us to go out and support our filmmakers at an early age at our festivals, because if you make it on that festival, you make your way up. So going out and
mhm,
supporting, helping to promote. It's been real interesting doing the work that we do. I want to thank and do a shout out to the Los Angeles Sentinel, the Wave newspaper and Pace. Having those stories told in our local papers is important because we don't get that platform often in the major newspapers. but helping is doing what you do, Greg. Oh my God, look at what you're doing, elevating our people, elevating our story, and having the critical discussions, right? About this balance or lack of balance when it comes to kinds of stories. We got to have those conversations. And then we need our community to go out and support. We need, one of the things doing this work, it's hard. People saying, oh, I can't afford it. I can't do this. Well, sometimes just come volunteer and help us. But our filmmakers, our stories are so incredibly important. And, I will tell you, you asked me going back to Vales, the musical. Yeah, there's going to be some somber moments in that play. But when you see this talent, when you hear these songs, when you see how these young men have been able to write and tell these stories and weave them through, it's nothing better.
Mhm. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my God, Greg. Whew, I have so many, oh my gosh, I have a lot. I don't know if I want to the Academy, I was invited into the Academy thanks to a
Mhm.
group of filmmakers, sent a letter on my behalf and wanted me to be a part of the Academy. And they asked me to write a story about what were some of my top films you could see during Black History Month. I
Mhm.
couldn't do it because so I tried to find a lot of ways. But I think, if I had to pick one, I love Imitation of Life.
Mm.
That was a powerful story for me. I love Malcolm. I loved Daughters of the Dust, but a lot of them, I might like them for different reasons. I just think when Gina did Love and Basketball, that was just,
That was a good one.
that was one that brought my whole family, young and old, together. And young people still look at it today. They can watch it 30 and 40 times. But you
Mhm.
know, a good Sidney Poitier movie. What he meant to our community, and
Yes.
there's so many wonderful stories. Uh,
I just watched Porgy and Bess, the
Porgy and Bess.
1950 something, boy. That was a great performance though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I guess you know what? Today, Panther.
Mm.
That's one that, wow, what Ryan did for that movie was just phenomenal. And I will just tell you, seeing Ryan's work and Gina's work when they were college students, I knew they both were destined for greatness. And I would tell you, when you say best films, they both had two short films that I wish the world could see. Gina had this short film that she did. I think it was less than 10 minutes. And it was done in black and white, and it was silence, except you could hear this breathing. And you see this man running, and all of a sudden, he's running, being chased by no sound, but you see him running. You might hear, I think you heard the breathing. And what she did in that 10 minutes, I said, this is going to be a future filmmaker that's destined for greatness. And then all of a sudden, as it's in black and white, all of a sudden it turns to color, and he's being chased by a man as the KKK. And then all of a sudden it turns to color, and all of a sudden he's being chased, and he looks up, and it tells a whole different story.
Wow,
And then
phenomenal.
you had Ryan do this short film. It was called Locks. So these are two of my great films and that's why we do the film festival, because a lot of young people said we do these film projects in college or we do them on our own and we don't have a showcase. And so we started this showcase. But I'll give you one other one. So Ryan had Locks, and Locks was a story, or is a story, because the film was just exceptional. And it's about a young girl who has cancer, and her brother loves her so much, and they live in a community where, in some communities it's about the color you got on, the red, the blue, but in this community it's all about everybody having locks. And all of a sudden this little girl loses her hair because of the chemo, and her brother had these beautiful locks. And all of a sudden you see the brother walking through the neighborhood, and you see all these great images of black men with all their locks. And all of a sudden, you see the brother going into the barber shop, and he sits in the chair, and all of a sudden, his locks come off. And then he goes back home, and he sits next to his sister who has cancer, whose head is bald. and his head is now bald. And it's no words spoken, but it just says everything. And I can remember when we showcased it at our film festival, I said to Ryan and to the young man who played the lead role, I said, "You really cut your hair." He said, "I did. I really want to be an actor."
Wow.
But how those kinds of stories, and sometimes in these shorts, in this less than an hour, some of them 7 minutes, some of them may be 60 minutes, 59 minutes, but there's so much power and rawness, and you can relate to these stories. We just did a film we funded with a woman named Phyllis Bancroft. It just called So again, as I talk, films with a purpose. We need, unfortunately, there's things that happen sometimes when young women go out. And so Phyllis came up with this short called With Salt. And it's about a young woman going out on a date and some of the things that happened while she went on that date. But I am very proud when our filmmakers challenge us, when they use art to tell our stories, to entertain, to educate, and bring about, again, like I said, mental health, mental wellness is huge right now among young people. And from all over, from here in the US, in Africa, a lot of filmmakers focused on mental health and well being, especially as a result of how the pandemic has elevated it, unfortunately, even in a bigger way.
Mhm. Do you see room for the documentary space? You were talking a lot about dramatic productions and everything. What about the documentary
Oh
space?
my God, Greg. So, guess what? Since becoming a member of the Academy, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're a member of the Academy." I'm like, you got to watch over 300 plus films. You got to watch
Wow.
documentaries. You got to watch feature films. You got to watch animation. But I will tell you, I have fallen in love with documentaries. I have fallen in love with documentaries. And this year, for example, we just premiered, and I'm going to hopefully hold another showcase on this one film. We just did a film called America Justice on Trial, and it is a 40-minute documentary, and it is about the trial of Huey P. Newton in
Wow.
1968. And
Wow.
Greg, maybe it's something we bring to Long Beach.
Mm,
Unbelievable what this trial meant in 1968, and how it impacted the judicial system when it
mhm,
talks about picking jurors.
mhm,
Unbelievable film, unbelievable. Um, we also showcased this year at our film festival um, a woman who did a film on American Marian Anderson. Uh,
mhm,
just unbelievable. But there's so much to. I love documentary filmmaking to the point that this year, several years ago, there's a barber shop in LA called Tolliver's. You
Oh
may have
yeah.
seen it, written by Steve Lopez, the columnist in LA Times.
Mhm,
And Lawrence Tolliver is just an institution in our community. He's a treasure. And I went to him and I said, "Lawrence, we need to do a documentary on this barbershop, what it represents and
mhm.
what you represent." And he's agreed to do it. But so let me just tell you, you asked me what are my favorite films, but I tell you, documentary film making has become my favorite.
That's
And
right.
there's short documentaries, there's feature documentaries. There's so many. Rita Corbin, for example, did the Marian Anderson, and she came out. But to hear the history about Marian Anderson, what she went through, but
Mhm,
also who were some of the people like Albert Einstein who came to her aid.
mhm, mhm.
But I have become, if you want to see Sandra Evers Manly on a good day, it meant that I have watched some great documentaries. You know, I,
Nice.
I think the documentary that was done on Dr. Dre and Jenny Iovine, incredible.
Yeah.
I, we're looking forward this year. Reginald Hutland has done a documentary on Sidney Poitier.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I love documentary filmmaking. The one thing I'm gonna say to your audience, you've got stories in your families
mhm,
that you can do documentaries on. One of the things I've learned, and I learned it late, is that I wished I would have out taped all of my uncles and aunts and my mother and father and their stories.
Mhm.
We just went back to our family reunion in Mississippi, and my brother, who's 74, and he was born there, and we got to hear about what it was like for him and my sister, that they had to go under a house every day while my mother went to work until she got off or until her best friend picked them up. So there's so
Mhm.
much stories we got right in our neighborhoods. You talk about Lawanda Hawkins, unbelievable.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. We have all of these stories right there in our own community. And, there's an audience for them. We got to just get to the work, do the work that's required to produce them, preserve, and tell our own stories. That's really, really what it's all about. And the Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center is at the epicenter of those efforts. Man, that's
Thank
really,
you.
really great. We put the bherc.org website in the chat so that you all can connect with BHERC and find out all the great programs that they have going on. You can get your tickets to see Veils. I know I'm going. I want to see that musical. Yes, yes, yes. Uh, you know, man, what's the last words you'd like to say to the audience? Give us some inspiration here. You're just already so inspirational, but leave us with something that we can take through our day.
I'm going to just say, I tell all of our filmmakers at the end of every film festival, go
Mhm.
out and tell our stories. Tell them one by one.
Mhm.
Go out and tell our stories, because the work when it comes to showcasing our people and telling our real story is yet to be done. And I will just say to you, let's live each day in love. Let's live each day in light. Let's think about our compassion. And I just want to thank you, Greg. We come from a great people.
Yeah.
We are kings, queens, and we're warriors. And right now, we need to be in our communities and giving back and supporting our filmmakers, but also supporting our nonprofits. And so I just encourage our communities, let's embrace each other, let's come together. I grew up in a home where my mom raised 6 children and 10 foster children. And she
Wow.
told us we had to love, she told us we had to learn, and we had to lift, and we had to lead. And sometimes we have to lean. So I encourage us to do that. And I can't thank you enough. Please come out and support Vales September 15th through the 18th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. You won't be disappointed. Please go out and support The Woman King, opening in theaters nationwide September 16th. We need you. Please join the BHERC. We call, again, Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center, BHERC. Tomorrow evening, you can come at 6 p.m. for 1 hour. We're having the countdown to the Woman King. Our stories matter. Our people matter. And it is up to us to make sure that we have success with our stories. And we got to have those critical conversations. Everybody's not going to work like everything,
Mhm.
but we can love each other.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love and light and art and culture all in one right here. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. My day is already. Look, I can go back to sleep now. The day is over, right? So much. Thank you. Thank you for coming through Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Y'all can get this on our Facebook pages all over the place. You can get it on YouTube, LinkedIn. It'll be there. Don't worry if you missed the live, it'll be out there. Just go on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. We'll repurpose the audio and put it out there as a podcast wherever you get your favorite podcast. And of course, go to Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. Click on the tab that says Coffee Conversations with Greg J. And voila, it'll be right there for you. All right, Sandra Evers Manly, thank you so much. I will be reaching out to you. I think we have some things to discuss, eh?
I look forward to it. We've got a lot of youth workshops and different programs. I also want to encourage everyone, please support our Black businesses. We were already struggling, but this pandemic has taken it to a whole different level. And so make it anytime, think about a Black business that you can support. I'll tell you a funny story, and it wasn't funny. Throughout this week, we got the cast in, We've got to feed them every day. And the first thing I said is, what Black businesses can we support? You know, when the students come, 400 students, we got to do box lunches and different things like that. Who can we support in our community? So please support our Black businesses as much as you can.
Amen to that. All right. All right, y'all. Remember, love one another. Love one another. Sandra Evers Manly said, do everything with love, didn't she? So she's right there with us. Love one another. Peace and blessings.